Hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Luck We Had, a Shameless recap podcast. Yay!
Hello.
Hello! We are your hosts. It is no longer me, a host, and my guest. My name is Amanda. I am your co-host with my other co-host, Evan.
Hello.
Hello!
I'm so happy to be a co-host. I'm so excited.
Yay! And so, okay, if for whatever reason you didn't listen to our first episode and you're listening to this one, cool, good on you. Do whatever you want. Let's introduce you to what the concept of this show is. We are rewatching every single episode of the US series of Shameless. And Evan and I are not like professional TV critics. We're not like anything.
Nope.
We just have been watching Shameless forever.
And we have too many opinions about it.
Yes, and we're the kind of people that get absolutely obsessed with it and then start shit-talking it for a few seasons and then get obsessed with it again, which I think are the best kind of fans.
Yeah, honestly, like, it just means that you have variety.
If you can't criticize a show, why are you watching it? So yeah, we are going to start this episode. We're going to talk about Season 1, Episode 2. It is entitled Frank the Plank. It's the first title of an episode that we get.
Because, like, what season? The first one was just, like, pilot.
It was just pilot, like every other TV show. Yeah, this episode is called Frank the Plank. It is Season 1, Episode 2. It premiered on January 16th, 2011. It was written by John Wells and Paul Abbott and Nathan Jackson, because this first season they really did try to remain true to the UK series as much as they could, but eventually it goes off the fucking rails, which is good, because the UK
100%.
series is not great.
I think I tried to watch it because I remember when I was looking to watch Shameless for the very first time, I was told it was on Netflix. So I was like, cool, let me go. And
So
then it was the UK version. And I watched, like, the first episode, and I was just, like, shocked at what I saw. And I was like, I thought that was bad. And then I've been watching US Shameless, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And this episode was also directed by John Wells, because of course it was. I have feelings about him, but we're going to postpone those feelings until later seasons. So the episode description is: a manhunt ensues after Frank goes on a bender and turns up missing on Friday, the day he never fails to cash his disability check, and turns up in Toronto with no idea how he got there. That's a fucking doozy of an explanation.
That's so much happening in one. Like,
but it's all about Frank. Like,
that's what I noticed throughout the first season, is that a lot of it mostly centers around Frank, and then, like, the kids, what they do are their storylines, like, for him more so.
Yeah, I understand why they did that, because William H. Macy was the big name that sold the show, and nobody else was a big enough name yet to be selling the show, so, like...
First of all, Cameron Monaghan was on Malcolm in the Middle. I think he's a really big name star.
He was in Click. Excuse me? He was in Click.
He was more like, what, Oven Mitts or something?
Emmy Russell was literally in Phantom of the Opera.
She's a classically trained opera singer.
And they used that exactly, like, once in a video they used for the website, and not even in the show. For, like, a Christmas video they used on the web.
That's so weird. I feel like the only people who really weren't anything when they were children were Jeremy Allen White, right? He didn't really do that much acting when he was younger.
And, like, obviously the kids that, like, are children on the show. Like,
yeah. Freaking Emma and Ethan. Like, of course, that was the first gig they got.
Yeah.
My friend went to, like, the charter school that Ethan went to in California, like so she goes to this, like, certain high school, and then there's an extension for it for, like, the famous kids and stuff, and she said Ethan graduated with her 2 years ago.
Oh, wow. So yeah, the episode title refers to, obviously, Frank, because William H. Macy sold the show. We get it.
We get it.
And then this is the first appearance we get of a, what do you mean you didn't watch Shameless? Fuck off. Here's the like, I love the way they do the previously ons. It's like, what
I
were
love
you
how
doing?
they break the fourth wall. Like, I think that's just, like, so, like, cool and, like, funny, and, like, it just makes you, like, be like, oh shit.
I feel like it's the first show I ever saw do that, to, like, turn to the camera and be like, the fuck were you doing while we were working? Like,
yeah.
I don't want to catch you up on this. Just watch some clips. I like that. So Frank did the previously on. And, yeah, let's get into the episode.
And then But isn't this the first time we get a title sequence?
It's the first appearance of the title sequence.
Yes! Fantastic song.
The song that inspired this podcast name, called The Luck We Got by The High Strung. Is it one of my alarms in the morning? Absolutely. Am I sick of it? Not even a little bit. I sing along every single time. Do I know all the words? Not even a little bit. I sing along regardless. So I have a little breakdown of the title sequence, which is super fun. This is the first appearance of the title sequence. We are in the Gallagher's bathroom, with Fiona dragging a passed out Frank on the floor of the bathroom. She drags him out by the foot so that she can pee. So we get to see Emmy Rossum just like sitting on the toilet. Super fun.
Just drop drawers.
I love this title sequence. It's like, here is what we're going for in this show.
Yeah, like this is what to expect from these characters, by the way.
So after that, it cuts to Carl comes in and sits on the toilet tank and finishes Frank's beer that was sitting in the bathroom. And then we have Ian jerking off to men in a magazine. And Kev walks in, because Kev just walks into their house and gets something from the bathroom while Ian is on the toilet.
He's oblivious, though, so he doesn't notice a single thing.
Debbie wrapping Liam in toilet paper, which is cute.
I always thought that was so cute, like turning him into like a mummy or something.
Yeah.
I thought it was so cute.
Friendly reminder that Debbie is an actual child in the first season.
Yeah.
Then Lip walks in with Karen. Karen is in the title sequence for the first 9 years. It bugs the shit out of me that Karen is around for this long. Whatever. So Lip pees, Karen grabs a cigarette from him. Kev and V walk in, and Kev's nose is bleeding, and V is fixing it, because remember, V knows nurse stuff. She's not a nurse, but she knows nurse stuff.
She knows stuff. She has all the equipment a nurse could need, though.
And then it cuts to Debbie playing around in like Fiona's heels and her makeup, because Debbie was a little baby child and Fiona was her big sister. It's very cute.
And isn't the season 1 title sequence, it's a little longer than once it progresses into the seasons, right? Like they cut out like a couple scenes, don't they?
No, because like whatever, it's not a spoiler alert, but like the new season like kept clips from the original and added more, so I even think the title sequence is longer now.
Oh shit.
But maybe for like certain episodes where they're like, we don't have time, they might have like shortened it.
Yeah, makes sense.
So Carl pulls a toy rabbit out of the toilet. Liam puts the toothbrush in the toilet and then sticks it in his mouth, because he is a child. And then Fiona and Steve having sex on the sink. We get to see Steve's ass.
We get to see Steve's little tushy.
And then
every season.
For 9 years. That is the way the title sequence remains for 9 years. They don't change it ever. Even as the cast changes, they don't change anything, which is great. And like they start off with an ass shot. So every episode has to have a nudity warning, because ass in the title sequence.
But.
So whatever, the title sequence is over. We open on Frank walking into the kitchen from upstairs. From there, I love the way their like 2-tiered stairs are, like in the front of the house and the back of the house. I love the way that connects.
Like when I think about it, like that house is pretty big.
It's
like
huge.
Maybe the actual house, because I know like the outside shots are not a set, but the inside shots are a set.
Yeah.
But like I wonder if the actual layout of that house is that big, because like it looks like a pretty nice house if it's like it's in a Gallagher house, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that house has a lot of potential. And they have a basement, and like they have like another thing too.
And
like
there's like a crawl space in the attic eventually. Like it's just a nice, I don't know. It's a nice way to lay out a house for a TV show. I like it. So he comes down the stairs and there's like no laces in his shoes. So he grabs one of the kids' shoes on the stairs and steals laces and laces up his boot, because Frank is an asshole. Reminder number 1 of the night, that Frank is an asshole. Fiona watches him do it and just shakes her head like, you dick. So then Frank goes outside, and we see Steve pull up with Ian and some groceries. So now Steve has been integrated into the family routines. I don't know how much...
Yes. He was there for 1 episode, and then now he's buying them, like, breakfast and shit like that.
Yeah,
like...
I feel like I want to establish for this episode, take a shot every time Amanda doesn't understand why time doesn't exist on this show. Because how long has Steve been a part of the family now? How long have they been dating? Is he her boyfriend? Does he live there now? Why is he just buying groceries
That's
with
how I
them?
feel the entirety of season 1 with them.
Yeah, the first episode, like we said, lasted 5 days in their universe.
Yeah, like everything just kept on bouncing back, and like there was a sunset right after like something, like it just things
There
did
was
not
night to day in the blink of
correspond
an
together.
eye. Insanity. So, whatever. Steve is integrated in the family. He's doing a grocery run with Ian. And then we cut to the alibi where Kev is borrowing cable from the first appearance of one of our alibi regulars, Tommy. Tommy the
I love
barfly.
Tommy.
Tommy is actually very fun. That actor is super fun for behind the scenes information too. He
Hmm.
him and Kermit, who we will meet later too. They come in clutch with behind the scenes information and the
That's so
alibi.
cute.
He's like
I
they're
forget.
like one of the first actors everybody tweets to be like, "Is Nolan a scene with you? Do you know anything about this?"
I there was something that Tommy's actor was in as like just like an in for like he was like a character for like something in one TV show I watched, and I forget who he was
It
in
was like
it,
a
but I just
sitcom or
thought it was
something.
so
Because I remember
funny.
seeing him too. I was like, "Oh, it's Tommy."
Yeah, I was like, "What are you doing here?" He was in like a business like attire thing or something
Yeah,
like that. I'm trying to think what I haven't watched that many things recently, so it couldn't be
Kermit's
that
Kermit is in like a
out
car
there.
commercial right now or something. He's or like an insurance commercial. I'm like, that's fucking Kermit. Yeah, everybody who might not be aware, there is a regular at the alibi. The character's name is Kermit. Yes, like the frog, and he doesn't
Yes.
not look like the frog. Um, we love Kermit. We love and respect Kermit in this house. So Kev is borrowing cable from Tommy, and they're like setting up. I guess it's a fight night. They're setting up a pay-per-view fight in the alibi with a TV clearly stolen from Best Buy. Still like has the tag on it. So while all that commotion is happening, Frank walks in and grabs just a beer that was sitting on the bar and drinks it. Because number 2, Frank is an asshole.
Yeah.
Uh, and then we cut back to the Gallagher home where everyone is settling down in the living room with burgers and fries and stuff to watch Deadliest Catch as a family.
I think we just have to think about the times, like 2011. Like, I feel like that was such a big, like, hype show. Like, regardless of how old those children were, like,
But like this
they're
is
not normal
clearly
kids.
the middle of the day too. So like they're just settling down for a family marathon of Deadliest Catch.
Yeah, I
It
don't
was just
know.
such an odd choice.
And like, I wanted to say something again about like the morning stuff. Have you noticed they somehow managed to do like everything in the plot before school in like the TV show?
Yeah.
Like that's the thing that's overwhelming the most. Is like, how do they do so much stuff? They're like, oh, gotta go to school, and I'm like, how long have you been up already?
Like I woke up, I had breakfast, I had a deep conversation with my sister. Me and my friend chatted at the locker, and now we're going to homeroom. What?
Yeah, and like they always do the things where like they're just like chilling at the house, like or they're walking around the outside, or like they have to go somewhere, and they're like, "Oh, gonna be late from school." I'm like, "What time does your school fucking start?"
Right? Yeah. This is a big episode where like time is okay. I guess
Time is yeah,
and what time of year it is. Are the kids in school? Okay.
yeah. That's what I also didn't realize in season 1. It was like, are they in school or not?
Is this a summer or a winter season? I think it's a winter season because they're all like bundled
All
up and
bundled
stuff.
up all the time.
You
Because like
could,
we do get summer seasons in the future, but like as of now, it's so hard to tell because things jump so much, and you can never tell.
the summer seasons are my favorite because Emmy Russin is very hot and she gets to wear a lot of tank tops in the summer seasons and it's nice. So they're settling down. They're watching Deadliest Catch, and Karen is there.
We don't know why she's there.
Again, how much time has passed? Are she and Lip dating? Does she just hang out at the house now? Why is Karen there?
Yeah.
And then we cut back to the alibi. They're watching the fight. Frank is sitting next to Karen's dad, and Karen's dad apparently knows who Frank is and just punches him right in the face, which is the only good thing Karen's dad has ever done.
Yeah.
And Frank gets knocked on the ground, but he doesn't spill a drop of that pint of beer in his hand. Just straight up, he's a professional.
We love alcoholics.
And then we cut back to the Gallagher house, still watching Deadliest Catch. I still don't understand why. And Frank comes home with a bloody nose all down the front of his shirt, and he keeps the bloody nose for like an incredibly long time in this episode, and I hate that so much.
Like, it's all over his face and all over his shirt, and like, it's so disgusting.
And even when you like see him wipe it off, he doesn't get it all, and I'm like, well, why? I hate this so much.
People in blood on that show, they don't care. Once they bleed, they're like, all right, I guess that's how I'm gonna be for a little bit.
So he walks in, and then Ian's like, yo, that's my fucking shirt that you're wearing. Why are you wearing my shirt? And he asks in a very polite way. He doesn't say it like I just said it. He's like, Frank, why are you wearing my shirt? And Frank gets up in his face and headbutts Ian in the face.
Bro, he hits him so hard. And then everyone's reaction, just like, they all just like get up and they're like fight or flight mode right away.
Yeah. V starts tending to Ian's wounds, and then Steve gets up and like gets in Frank's face like, what the fuck, Frank? You just hit your son in the face. And Fiona gets mad at Steve for some reason and kicks Steve out of the house.
Okay, I understand like Fiona and her whole thing, like she doesn't need a man standing up for her, and like this also happens in like later seasons as well. But like she doesn't take help easily, and like in times when like honestly it could be used, she fucking just casts them away.
I truly don't understand why Frank comes in, headbutts Ian in the face. Steve gets in Frank's face and goes like, what the fuck, that's not okay. And Fiona turns around and is mad at Steve and kicks Steve out of the house. I don't understand.
I don't get it at all.
But in the background while all this chaos is happening, Debbie has a frying pan in her hand. And like, I think she was going for Steve, but like, I wanted to see more of that. What else was about to happen with Debbie in this frying pan? Lip stops her, but I'm like, wait, hold on. Let's see what plays out here. What's about to happen? Fiona kicks Steve out of the house. Little baby Ian's nose is bleeding, and V is trying to help him. And I'm angry. Why hurt him? Why do we consistently... Sorry, we're looking ahead into the future. Why do we have to hurt Ian so much all the time?
Dude, that kid gets his shit rocked.
Why does Ian have to hurt so much always? I'm so angry about it.
Like, and it's like not just one person. Like, he gets like fucked up by so many different people. And I'm like, leave this poor kid alone.
Yeah. And so I don't know how much time passed in the filming between the pilot and the basically the first other episode of the series. Like, I don't know how much time got split between, like, submitting it and finding out that it was going and filming it and stuff. Because all the other kids don't look like they've grown up that much, but Cam has shot up. He shot up, like, half a foot. All of his freckles are gone. Like...
Because his hair was, like, so, like, dark red and, like, really, like, stuck up everywhere. And he was tiny. And then the next episode, he's, like...
His freckles look like they were like dotted on with Crayola in the last episode. Like he
had a fucking freckle.
He was a full child, and now he is halfway to a grown man. Like
Cameron started the show when he was like
15.
15, okay, and then Jeremy was like 17,
Jeremy was 18,
right?
I think, because
18?
Jeremy gets sex scenes like almost right away. So
gotcha. And then, so I actually Googled. So Ethan is only a month older than me, like a month or two older than me, but a year. So he is like a month and a year older than me, and like same with Emmy, and Emmy is like a couple months older than him. So they were like 10 when the show, 9 or 10 when the show started.
Yeah, that's why for the first few seasons, even though Ian gets relationship stuff, we don't get to see him have sex scenes because Cameron Monaghan was not 18 years old yet. So yeah,
that makes sense with all the shots with like you only see like a little bit of them, or
even
like not all
of his
them.
Scene partners were over 20. 20,
Bro,
20 and much older. Sorry, spoiler alert, guys. 20 and much older. But Cam was like not even 18 until like the middle of season 3. Ian has shot up like a weed, and it's crazy. I don't know how long that gap was because time doesn't exist. Take another shot. So Steve puts on his coat and leaves because Fiona kicked him out for some reason.
Who knows why? It's Fiona.
After Steve walks out, one of the more brilliant moments of the first season, like one of the more brilliant moments of the whole show, which is like reasons why I loved the show in the first place. Fiona goes up to Frank in the kitchen where he's wiping blood off of his face and just leans against the fridge and stares at him. And he stares at her, and neither of them say anything, but she gives him a look, that mom stare that's like, you fucked with one of my kids. Like, she was just staring him down, and you could see him like try to fight back like a little bit with his eyes, and then he eventually just drops his head and shakes it and goes, okay. Like, she just gave him a tongue lashing, but it was silence, and it was beautiful, brilliant acting by Emmy and William H. Macy. Like, that was truly beautiful. Oh, why is the show so good sometimes?
and
then just trash. Like,
it sucks because they have such talented people on this show, and they put them in like the worst scenarios, and then it's just like, are we gonna get like a really good acting scene, or are we just gonna get overwhelmed with the same like fights and like characters doing the same bullshit over and over again?
Yeah, like, let's not be fooled by this show. William H. Macy, we all know, is a brilliant and talented actor. But some
Correct.
of the shit that he does on this show, it's like, why? You have William H. Macy. Why are we doing this garbage? I don't understand.
Yeah, that's what always threw me off a little bit as well.
And Emmy is so brilliant that she has left the show. She's like, I'm too good for this, and just peaced out. I'm like, proud of her.
I know, I'm so proud of her, but I'm excited to see what's gonna happen though.
Yeah. I feel like I've just abandoned the whole we're not talking about the future thing. Sorry, I'm just going to assume you guys know that things that are happening currently. It's been on for 10 years.
The show's been out for 10 years.
I'm not throwing a spoiler alert on it. It's been out for 10 years. Sorry about it. I'll try not to give away specific plot point spoilers, but like eventually the woman who plays Fiona, Emmy Rossum, leaves the show. Sorry about it. So we go upstairs after the whole brawl in the living room. And Lip is rolling a joint because they just have joints in their room. Because
they're like rolling on like a frisbee or something.
Yeah, he's rolling a joint to share with Ian, and Ian says if he ever fights back against Frank, he'll fucking kill him, which he should. And Lip says, "So what? Prison is like gay heaven." Do you see why Amanda abandons the whole "we're not talking about the future" thing? Oh my god, Ian, you've got no idea. Let's never forget Ian is a homosexual. Let's remind us every time.
Let's please never forget.
Let's never forget Ian. Ian is a gay man. So we go from that scene. Just remember Ian's gay and he will fight if he has to. Moving on. Frank is rooting through someone's room. I guess that's his room, looking for clothes. And he's looking for a new shirt, and he ends up just turning the one he's wearing inside out because he's disgusting. And then he leaves the house. And then there's like a very ominous shot of Steve in his car just watching Frank, following him. Like, what are we up to, Steve?
It's just creepy because like Frank is like, of course, always on foot, like leaving the house, and then Steve's just like a little bit down the block, just like.
And how out of it is Frank that he's not seeing like a Mercedes just like crawl behind him.
And I love how like they always thought they could get away with like using really nice fancy cars in that area. Like, I don't get how they continuously like gave them such nice things in that area when their whole thing was like, we shouldn't have nice things and nice things don't belong here. But they're like, let's get them.
Yeah, Steve's car would be stripped for parts in minutes. Like, it would
and that's literally what Fiona tells him. Doesn't Fiona tell him that at one point? She's like, yeah, your car's not going to be here in the morning.
Yeah. So, whatever, Steve is following Frank in the car. Frank is not noticing.
I wonder what's going to happen.
We cut to the alibi. Kev closes up and leaves. There's like a drunk asleep on the bar. And then, I guess, time passes as we're just in this one shot in the bar. Kev opens up again the next morning and breaks an egg and a beer for the guy and gives it to him for breakfast.
So I love Kev.
It's one of his norms. He likes that guy. And then we see Debbie running around the neighborhood stealing newspapers from neighbors' porches, looking for grocery coupons. Because again, just like in the first episode, I guess Debbie is the head of the financials in the house.
Yeah, it seems like she is at such a young age, but she's like the only one without any source of income.
Yeah. Okay. And then we see
Good for her,
Ian
though.
and V go down to a delivery van, and V is like flirting with the driver. She apparently like knows the guy and is flirting with him. While Ian goes around to the back of the truck, opens up this enormous refrigerated dairy truck, and the only thing in it is 2 little crates with like some milk and cheese and butter in it, just sitting at the end of the truck. Okay.
Oh, how conveniently placed for them.
Right?
How did they know they were gonna get fucking robbed?
So V is flirting with the guy while Ian steals the stuff. And then we get an incredibly unnecessary shot of this guy's boner as V walks away from him. Why don't we need to see that?
We see so many different people's boners throughout the show. Like, we should not be surprised.
Why do we need to see that? So we cut back to the Gallagher house. They're doing their morning thing. Debbie's clipping coupons. Ian drops off the dairy. He goes to V's house and gives her the
So
dairy.
this is all happening in the morning time. Let's say they're not in school right now.
So this
What
is like
the fuck
6
time
a.m.
is it?
Is it 6 a.m.? Is that when they're all doing this?
Is it 12 in the afternoon? Is it lunchtime? Or is it 8 a.m.? Like, I don't know. Is it 4 p.m.? They're about to watch more Deadliest Catch? Who knows?
Are they on winter break? What time of year is it? I know this is like January 16th that it aired. Are they on Christmas break? I truly don't understand.
Showtime, please help.
Oh. Happy dairyman and his boner drive away. And we see a close-up of a body laying on the ground, wearing like sort of what Frank was wearing when he left, like the denim jacket. So like there's a body just laying down on the ground. Could be someone asleep. It could be a dead body. We don't know.
It's like underneath like one of the L passes, right?
They're just dropping that little foreshadowing nugget so that we can grab it later. Fiona comes downstairs with Liam in the Gallagher house. We see their very funny welcome mat, like the dog doesn't bite but the kids do or something very kitschy and funny. And they all join together for a breakfast. Fiona goes through the mail that she just picked up and sees a check for Frank. It's his disability check. And she thinks it's very weird that Frank isn't like here grabbing it immediately. And she's asked everybody, she's like, wait, what day is it? Why isn't he here? And
because like from what everyone already learns from Frank is that he's money hungry and he's a scammer. So of course, like if this is money income coming from like to him, where he at? Why doesn't he have his money yet?
And like,
because Mans is always up on that.
Yeah. And I made a note here that the style of how the show is shot is like really radically different from the first episode. Because the first episode was like boom, boom, now, we're moving through time. And this one is like much slower. There's close-ups of more specific moments. It's like a lot quieter. It's like it's a radical like shift in the way that it's being shot and presented to us in the second episode. It's like a little bit of a readjustment period has to happen.
Do you think it's because there was a good grace period before the 2 episodes were shot? Do you think that's probably why?
I think it's that and it's first season figuring our shit out-ness, I think. It's them, like, experimenting with different things and, like, maybe trying things that the UK show did and maybe trying to differentiate. It was them figuring shit out.
I feel like that's how it is with a lot of shows, regardless, like, not just Shameless, but I feel like if you watch the first season, you can tell that, like, a bunch of the episodes all are, like, still as similar, but they kind of teeter-totter with, like, this is this, and let's use this, or this one had different shots, or this one's audio sounded a little differently.
And then there's, like, the universally loved shows, too, that, like, The Office and Parks and Rec that famously have terrible first seasons, where they like, didn't know what they were doing, and then they got their shit together.
Yeah.
So, like I said, the vibe is weird. Steve comes in, because I guess he wants to apologize. He comes bearing Starbucks and donuts, which, like, yes, please come in.
Please.
Fiona, like, sort of complains about trying to get the kids to eat healthy, but, like, doesn't fight him on it. And he kisses her hello, and he, like, sort of apologizes, and she sort of apologizes, and they're, like, fine. But, like, once again, how long have they been dating?
What time is it? How long have they been dating? Where is their relationship? How long has it been since, like, they had that fight, like, with Ian and Frank?
Yeah. It gets established later today that it's, like, Friday. So, like, it's a weekday. So if today is Friday, that means yesterday, when they were all chilling, eating burgers, watching Deadliest Catch, it was a Thursday afternoon. Why are you in school?
I want to Google 2011, when did Deadliest Catch air, and see what happened.
It airs at, like, 8 o'clock at night. I know that because my dad watches it. So, like, they're watching it in the middle of the day.
Oh my god.
Whatever. So they all
Irrelevant. We don't know how much time has gone by. We don't know how long Steve and Fiona have been dating. We don't know how long Frank has not come to get his check. Like, it just, everything is just kind of, we don't know is the real answer.
He's not here to get his check. They all go in the living room because they think this, like, sleeping bag in the living room is Frank, but it's not. Debbie had left him a mug of coffee, and, like, Debbie is so sweet and innocent in the first season, and it breaks my heart.
Yeah, you can, like, it's a lot you notice throughout with the younger children is that they have more of a heart and they give Frank a little more lenience than any of, like, the older siblings.
Yeah,
Debbie, so, like, it kind of hurts to watch, almost, just watching these little kids, like, be like, my dad, I love my dad, and then their dad be like, fuck you guys, I'm gonna go rob you and I'm gonna disappear and do all these things because, like, fucking, they're babies.
Debbie and Carl care about him so much, and it's, like, so sweet. And even,
like,
you can see
that
Fiona
lasts for, like, 4 seasons.
because you can see Fiona remembered when he was a little bit okay, and, like, she, like, puts up with him and she hates him and stuff, but, like, every once in a while when she breaks down, she, like, kind of just wants her dad, and, like, it's so heartbreaking. Lip and Ian don't have those moments as much, but,
no, because I feel like like, everything happened to them at the time where it was only all dropped on Fiona. So, like, those kids just grew up knowing that they had shitty parents, but, like, not really holding that much resent to them because regardless, they weren't there.
Yeah.
For them to deal with because they've also were so younger. But, like, it hurts to watch, like, Carl and Debbie for, like, not really spoiler alert, but, like, for, like, seasons still have, like, a heart for Frank and, like, still see the good in Frank, but Frank doesn't give a fuck.
They're concerned that Frank is gone. The Gallagher kids are calling Frank dad again. It's really weird. Fiona goes over to Kevin V's house, where Kevin V are just fucking.
Yeah, just like they do. But also, you gotta realize that, like, in Shameless, no one knocks. People just walk in your house.
Yeah, Fiona, when she's like, you live in the South Side? Lock your doors?
Yeah, that's what I said. That was, like, first of all, if Frank can break in that easily to your guys' house all the time and just walk in, you guys aren't that safe for being where you are.
You're in a bad neighborhood. Lock your doors. Fiona walks in, Kevin V are fucking, and Fiona just asks them while they're fucking, you seen Frank? Has Frank been around? And Kev stops fucking. Because all we see is Kev's sweaty face, and, like, V's leg on his shoulder. That is the perspective of this shot. V's leg on his shoulder, his sweaty face, and Fiona behind him as they talk, just, like, towards the camera. So
the way they film sex scenes are so overwhelming.
Kevin V, ugh. So, like, Fiona finds out that Frank has not been around the alibi since last night before closing, and Kev doesn't know where she is. And then they make a comment that's like, oh, so Kev is hitting it from the back, I guess? Because Fiona said, I came in through the back, and she's like, you're not V from somewhere. It's like, you're not the only one. So I'm like, you're just having anal sex, and we're just, okay.
We're supposed to be cool with it.
Fiona leaves.
We just let them do whatever.
Fiona leaves, Kev and V look at each other, Kev laughs, and they just keep fucking. Good for you two.
People are so sex positive in this show, you gotta get used to it. It's so, like, I knew that from starting the show, but then watching the show, you don't really realize how much sex actually occurs in this show. So that's why I sometimes feel weary recommending it to people who are a little bit younger than me, because I'm like, I don't know if you want to sit and watch this.
Yeah.
Because, like, if you take away the sex scenes, like, it's a pretty interesting show, but I'm just like, sometimes you don't know if you want to be watching all of that all the time.
And sometimes it's too many sex scenes. Believe me, I would love to watch Emmy Russell just, like, shirtless all the time. I appreciate that. But, like, she's also very talented. Can she put a shirt on and, like, do a scene, maybe? Whatever. So Fiona goes back to the house. She gets a moment alone with Steve, and she admits she thinks Frank is missing. And he's like, oh, really? Frank's missing? He's such a good actor. And then we cut to the whole family phone banking, calling everyone in the neighborhood looking for Frank. Why? Why do we care?
Like, Frank already has a history of going missing and being an asshole and not responding and no one seeing him. But, like, for some reason in this specific case, they are so prominent to go finding him. And, like, he's missing. Like, what does he add to them as of now in the series? Like, he doesn't give them anything in return. So why did they fucking care?
Yeah.
Like,
So they're
especially
all real
Fiona.
worried. They're real worried about where Frank is. So they're calling every single person that they know. V is calling hospitals. They're so worried. And there's a moment where V is like on a landline and then it gets yanked out of her hand and she goes chasing it down the street because Kev is pulling their landline back into the house. And she's like trying to keep a conversation with somebody on the phone. It's very funny. Kevin and V
I
are
love
very
when
funny.
Kev's always like, "Don't steal my shit."
Yeah. He's like, fucking Gallagher's. Like,
He's so mean in the first season, and then he turns so nice.
but like, these are valid concerns.
No, but yeah, of course, the Gallaghers steal fucking all of their shit all the
They're like
time,
also
so I don't blame
using
him.
his cell phone, and he's like, oh great, they're running up both of my bills. Cool, love that, thanks. And then he and V just like are yelling at each other. But I love they're yelling at each other, and then Kev's like, fucking whatever, I love you, and kisses her and leaves. Like, they're so cute. Oh, like they can yell and then say I love you and then walk out the door. And she's like, you fucking asshole, I love you too. Get the fuck out of my face. Like,
Yeah,
it's
I
great.
love them.
They are the number 3 shameless couple in my book. The number 3.
Wait, who's number 2 then?
Oh, Fiona and Steve.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Because I already knew who number 1 was.
Oh yeah, we know.
Okay.
So Kev and V have a fight about the phone. It's very cute. And then we find out that Kev's like, oh, you're gonna run up the bills? Then fucking get to work and pay some bills. And that's when we find out that V is a cam girl. So V abandons phone banking for Frank, takes her shirt off, and just starts ironing for a freak on the internet. Okay,
Yeah,
good for you.
shirt, boobs out, just ironing her shirt. Like, good for her, though.
Titties out. Good for her. Then we're back at the Gallagher house. Everybody's worried. Debbie is having a breakdown. They split up around the city, and we get a fun montage of them, including Karen, just all around the city looking for Frank in hobo camps and in porta potties and under the bridge and whatever, searching the South Side for
I'm still so
Frank.
astounded that they put so much effort into looking for him.
Right?
Like, I think just sets it up for everything else he does to them in the future. So, like, they realize not to care as much. But I'm just like, they're like, this is like what, like an 8-man job at this point? Who's all looking for him? Like,
And again, it's a weekday.
what?
Why aren't these children in school? Why didn't Fiona send them to school and then with her adult friends go and look for her missing father? Why aren't these kids in school? And then we get another foreshadowing shot of the dairy truck man from earlier driving by the body that we saw laying by earlier while everybody's looking for Frank. We cut to the police station where Officer Tony, little blondie Officer Tony.
I love Tony.
He says they can't file a missing persons report on Frank because he's Frank and he's always missing.
Exactly. If Tony can say that shit, why does everyone care?
Ugh. And then Tony only takes it seriously when Fiona's like, it's the last Friday of the month. It's Disability Day. And Tony's like, oh shit, I guess this is serious. Like, but once again,
it's money.
If he was missing, so what? Like, so what does he contribute? I don't understand. We cut to the alibi where Lip is telling Kev off for giving him shit about the phone, and Kev like immediately backs off when Lip's like, oh, you don't want me running up your phone bill? Then I'm not going to do your fucking taxes for free anymore. Goodbye. Kev's like, whoa, 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 you can use my phone whenever you want. Please keep doing my taxes. I love it. And we figure out the last Friday means Disability Day, and Kev suddenly also takes the disappearance super seriously. And he asks, he tells Lip that the last person he saw Frank with was Steve before last call at the bar. And Lip's like, Steve saw Frank and never told any of us? He hasn't said a word about it? Interesting.
So that's already sketchy towards all of them.
Yeah.
And like, we're only learning information as much as all the other characters are learning information about where Frank is as of now.
Yeah. So, and again, Karen is with Lip this entire time and is like acting like whatever. Then there's like an ominous news report on the alibi, on the TV at the alibi, that shows that a dead body was found on the South Side. I'm like, dun dun dun.
So of course everyone's like tweaking out from this.
But Kev is the only one who sees it because Lip has already left the bar at this point. So Kev asks his lesbian bartender friend if she has seen Frank. And she's like, I haven't fucking seen Frank. But I also now need an entire spin-off episode about this lesbian bartender. because she said the first time she ever kissed a woman, she fell downstairs and broke her collarbone. And like, I need a whole episode about her. You're very interesting.
I
You got
love
kissed
her.
by a lady and then
She's
broke your
the
collarbone.
redhead lady, right?
Yeah, it's the lesbian bartender in flannel. I don't know. I don't know if we ever gave her a name. I don't know if she ever appears
that
again.
name, I can't. That name is so good.
Lesbian flannel bartender. Okay. But she sounds interesting and I like her. So we cut to V's house where Fiona and Steve are discussing Frank's disappearance while V has her tits out. She's working. She's got her tits out. She's ironing. She's working. And Fiona and Steve are standing in her bedroom just like spitballing ideas. And Steve like has his eyes cast down and he's being very gentlemanly. It's very cute. And then Ian walks in and just like sees V topless and just like appreciates her. And he's like, hey V, what's up? And she's like, hey Ian. That girl knows. She knows that boy is the gayest thing she's ever met.
V is like the superior mother to all the kids.
Yeah. She's like, hey Ian, how's it going? Like she flirts back because she knows that boy is gay as fuck. And it's fantastic. Ian grabs Fiona because Debbie's super upset and they leave and V shuts down her camera on the ladyvpeepshow.com, which is amazing. And then we get an
iconic handle.
We get an incredibly unnecessary cutaway of one of her viewers who was jacking off to her being very upset that the show has been cut short. And he's got a monkey for some reason. I hate it.
They just add little details in to just do that.
Stupid shit. We cut to the Gallagher house. Debbie's freaking out because I think she heard about the dead body or she thinks Frank is dead. And Ian's like interpreting. Debbie is speaking that hysterical language we all speak when we are overwhelmed and we are crying. Mm-hmm. And Ian is interpreting everything that she's saying, which is great. And like apparently some girl said to Debbie that like Frank might be dead. And Fiona's like, I'm gonna fucking deck that bitch. I love mom voice Fiona. Yes, please go beat up a 9-year-old for me. It's great. So that's when Lip walks in and tells everyone that Steve was the last one to see Frank. And everybody's like, what the fuck? What do you mean? And Kev comes in and tells Fiona about the body. And Fiona and the kids all go running down to the crime scene. And they're all very upset. And then they turn the body over. And it's just a hobo. It's not Frank.
Yeah.
Oh, who cares? It's a dead person. But whatever.
And they all like are so relieved.
Like,
but I'm like, you guys just saw a dead body. And you're like, oh, thank God.
You brought your children to see a dead body. What if it had been their dead father that she ran down the street? They all stopped to put their coats on. And then, so she had time to stop and think, maybe I shouldn't bring the children to see a dead body.
Maybe we shouldn't look at a dead body today.
And then they did it anyway. And good for them. So it's not Frank. Frank isn't the dead person. And then
they all inappropriately fucking just cheer.
Yes. We cut to Frank asleep on a bench in Toronto. Which, like,
he's in Canada.
They must have shot this in Toronto. That looks like a shot outside in, like, that doesn't look like a green screen. That looks like
Toronto. The background is, like, beautiful because, like, he's on a bench on, like, a side street and then it's, like, what, like a lake or something?
And it's, like, the skyline of Toronto and it's, that like, they must have actually shot that there, even though they shoot in Los Angeles and Chicago. I guess they flew to Toronto for a day to shoot this because that's where fucking everything else in the world shoots. So
yeah.
And we are highlighted by, like, if you didn't recognize the skyline, it is highlighted by the fact that we then see a Canadian flag, 2 women jogging with Canadian flag like beanies on, and then a Mountie comes walking up so they can
with the whole get up and the hat and like the fucking red suit. And then I think there's also, like, a big maple leaf on the bench he's on, too.
Oh, for sure. They're like, just so you know, it's Canada.
Yeah, they made sure that you know he's in Canada.
Yeah. So Mountie on a horse comes up and arrests Frank because he's a bum sleeping on a bench. And these women that jogged by, like, stopped the Mountie and pointed him out. So Frank gets arrested, and he just starts singing the Star Spangled Banner because he is America dumbass that just, like...
I still don't get why they would have arrested him for just, like, sleeping on the bench. Because, like, he could have been homeless, a Canadian homeless person. Yeah. But, like, it wasn't like he was doing anything.
I think, like, the women were, like, disturbed by him or something and reported, whatever. Yeah. He ends up in jail. And the man we see next, that we don't ever even see, like, his cellmate next to him, while Frank is trying to make his case that he's an American citizen, even though he doesn't have a passport, the guy next to him is like, "Oh, is that a Chicago accent I hear?" And Frank's like, "This guy knows. He knows I'm an American." And the guy's like, "If you give me a hand job, I'll try and help you out." And Frank's like, "What is happening?" So he just starts singing the Star Spangled Banner because he's an asshole. Frank is exhausting. So then we're back in America. We're back in Chicago. Officer Tony has arrived at the Gallagher house with news that Frank has been arrested in Canada. Boy, that was quick. It was a quick international conversation that he just...
Yeah, like, did they just, like, fax it over, being like, by the way, we have this fucker of
He gave a
yours?
bolo out on Frank. How did he get this information so
And
quickly?
especially, like, Tony, like, there can't be one police department in Chicago that would have received that information.
And, like,
so how did Tony get access to
that's
it?
two different countries. It's not like he popped up in an American database. Like, it was Canada. He's in Canada.
Yeah. Unless Frank gave him some information that we don't learn about, but this is Shameless we're talking about, so of course we're not going to get answers that we want.
It makes no sense. So Tony's like, "Oh, Frank's in jail in Canada," and then Kev and Fiona's like, "Well, then we have to go get him back." And V offers the truck, and Kev makes Tony like plug his ears so that he doesn't hear Kev say, "I don't have insurance on my truck. I can't get it back in the country." And V's like, "Yeah, but while you're up there, buy prescription pills." And like, there's a police officer sitting in between you. Whatever.
He's Southside
Southside. He doesn't
policeman. We
snitch.
gotta Tony. We love Tony though.
So Fiona goes to the kitchen. She starts rooting through the trash, and then she starts rooting through the trash because I guess she remembered seeing Steve smoke these Canadian cigarettes earlier, and she's like, "Why the fuck do you have Canadian cigarettes?" And figures out that Steve is the one that brought Frank to Canada. Which I thought she already knew Steve had something to do with him disappearing because they said Steve was the last person to see him earlier.
Yeah, I feel like that's like automatic. Like it's him. Like I feel like that was already foreshadowing that they all knew that it was his fucking fault.
So Steve admits to smuggling Frank into Canada, and again, Fiona is mad at him, and I don't understand why. She punches him in the face, and as much as I love Angry Emmy, I don't get it. I don't get it. So then she said, like, if Frank had punched Ian in the face in front of me, I would have driven Frank to Canada as well. Fuck you, Frank. Get out of my house forever. Get out of my country. I hate you.
Yeah.
Fiona's super mad. She punches Steve right in the face and tells Steve to go get Frank back. So Steve gets an RV from a car stealing buddy of his and makes a plan for him and Kev to drive up to Canada, get Frank, get V's prescription medication so that they can drive it all back into America, smuggling him in like the shower wall, and then V can sell the drugs and Frank will be back. Whatever. So they drive
totally
from
forgot
Chicago.
I totally forgot this extent of this episode.
Right? It's crazy. So long. It's so crazy. They drive from Chicago, Illinois to Canada and back in apparently less than a day.
So from where I live, it's like maybe a 15-hour drive.
Yeah.
And Chicago is probably like 4 hours away from me.
So
like that's like 20 hours, maybe a full day's worth of driving.
Yeah.
To pick up Frank. Yeah,
it apparently takes them less than a day to get the RV, formulate the plan, drive up and get Frank, and drive him back. No, it takes less than a day.
I need to look at a map.
Because it's Friday. They find out Frank is missing. They scour the south side for Frank. Frank wakes up in Toronto. Frank gets arrested. They find out Frank is in Toronto, and Fiona says you have to go get him back. Steve finds a buddy with an RV, gets into the Gallagher house, explains the plan. They drive up, and they drive him back. And by the time they're back, it is Saturday at noon. That was 24 hours all of that happened in? Nope. Take a shot every time I complain about the time if you want to be shit-faced.
Okay, so realistically, they would have to fucking drive through, like, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Minnesota, and Iowa, basically, to get to just, like, Ontario. But who knows where Frank actually is within Canada.
Yeah.
So, like, that's a lot of driving to be able to fucking just get there that quickly. Especially for them. Like, I forgot how close Illinois actually is, but, like, that's a lot. That's a pretty far distance. And also, where they're located, there's no, like, there's so many lakes and water around them that, like, it's not even just like a straight shot. Like, they have to, like, go around all
Yeah.
these other states to even get into Canada.
And this also means that Steve tracked Frank until closing time at the Alibi Thursday night, so it was probably like 2 in the morning. Put him in his trunk, drove him to Canada, and came back in time for breakfast in the morning on
To bring
Friday.
Starbucks and donuts.
It's like a 4-hour gap.
Dude, I think we should just like stop talking about
Yeah,
time and
it's
just
gonna
know that
fuck
we're
us up.
never going to be satisfied with whatever we ever.
I think them like putting a calendar on the fridge in the first episode just like sent me spinning. Because this episode has already gone on for so long, they've devised the plan to get him back from Canada, and then the next shot, Frank is in the car and they're driving back. Cool, whatever. I don't know who decided to leave Frank alone with the prescription medication, but whatever. Frank arrives home to the entire neighborhood waving Canadian flags and greeting him, which I don't understand. Nobody likes Frank. I don't get it. This makes no sense at all. Debbie made a welcome home daddy sign, and it broke my heart into a million pieces.
That poor girl.
He ignores her and he goes inside, and Fiona and Steve exchange looks, and she shakes her head and like, "Oh, you not coming back in the house right now, Steve-O. Not right now." So Frank goes upstairs to get a bath because he finally needs to bathe, and Debbie comes in with a beer because she's a baby, and it's heartbreaking. And then Fiona gives him his disability. Fiona gives him his disability check, and she says it's Saturday, and the banks close at 12. Again, time is a lie. Fiona says one of my favorite lines after that. Like, she gives him the thing. She's like, whatever, fuck, you're back. Here's your disability check if you want to cash it. Don't ever hit one of my kids again. And then he looks at her and he's like, they're not your kids. And she just stares him down like, don't ever hit one of my kids again. Like, she will fucking destroy you. She will leave you in Canada next time.
No, yeah, she's so powerful.
And then Frank is in his room packing his clothes because I guess he's leaving. And then once again, Debbie tries to bond with her dad, and once again, he's being a dick. And he makes the joke, what do urine and Canadian beer have in common? They both come from pussies. And boy, do I love cis men's knowledge of how vaginas work. That's A+, guys. Frank bullshits some Canadian facts because he's a bullshit artist, and makes Debbie go make him a sandwich because he's an asshole.
Yeah, he's a prick.
Yeah. So Frank packs up and he leaves, and Lip watches him leave, picks up a can from his groceries, and throws it at a child. And you hear...
just scenes like that on the show make me lose my mind, but I'm just like, why? What was the point?
Well,
like, you already caused enough trouble and do enough bullshit. Like, let me just add some more. Apparently,
the point was he's gonna steal that child's bike. So he knocks the child off the bike.
And he steals the bike.
With a can of food. And he just starts following Frank around on this child's bike as Frank goes from house to house trying to seek shelter. And Lip just, like, follows him around, reminding Frank that, like, the family pays its own way with all the money Frank pisses away at the Alibi. And Lip's just like, you know you're an asshole, right? Like, this is him just following his dad around on a bike, reminding him what a dick he is, and that nobody likes him. It's fun. Jeremy Allen White got to have fun with that. That must have been fun. I love
Jeremy. He's so good in all of his scenes.
That must have been fun.
But also, like, I always love how tiny that bike is he's riding, though. Yeah. It's like not like it's like one of those like miniature like BMX bikes, basically, and he's like so big and it's so tiny.
I wonder if he steals the same bike from the same child every day, because he steals a bike from a child in the first episode too. In the first episode, when they're all going to school, he, like, grabs a bike and rides away. And some kid's like, that's my bike! Like, I wonder if it's just a neighborhood kid. Like, the same one. They just fucking
wreck all the time.
It's like, hey, Brett! And he just steals his bike today. Like, and he does it just violently every time. I'm gonna throw a can of beans at you. Okay. And then that sets Frank on a classic Frank rant, where he's just walking down the street ranting to nobody. Which is brilliant work by Bill Macy, just like ranting to thin air about the kid's mom, which is crazy. Frank goes on a rant. It's a classic Frank rant, and it's great. And it ends up with him, and we learn through that rant information about Monica and about their relationship and how dysfunctional it was. and like that she ran away when the kids were super little, and that left Frank holding the bag, and like it was a little bit of exposition with Frank just like ranting to thin air.
Talking
nice.
to himself, basically.
Yeah. And he's ranting about like how his drinking problem developed, which like feels like bullshit, but okay.
100% bullshit.
Yeah, and it ends with him walking into the alibi where again everyone is waving a Canadian flag and singing "Oh Canada."
But yet somehow this has all happened yesterday and earlier this day. So everyone was so prepared with their Canadian flags and they all learned the anthem. Like where, how did all these, and like, aren't they, like, there's like a banner and shit too, like,
yeah.
right? And like everyone's like in outfits. So what, all these fucking Southside trashies went and spent their money on Canada merch to make fun of Frank.
Suddenly it's cheers too. Every time he walks in, he gets like a Norm entrance.
And like this also like sets it up that like people like Frank and like they're like always like messing around and having fun with him. But I'm just like, what?
Literally everybody hates him always. And then we're back in the alibi. Karen's dad sits next to Frank just like he did earlier in this episode 8 years ago. And he hands him a beer, and they end up drinking together, talking about how they, the men, are the victims of the horrible, insane women in their lives. And Karen's dad rants about Sheila and that she's on disability and that she never leaves the house and all she wants to do is cook and clean and have sex. And Frank's like, and you walked out on this deal because... And before Karen's dad is finished complaining, Frank is gone. And it is the third act of this episode, and we are starting a new storyline with Frank now wooing Sheila. Because he's like, oh, I found a golden ticket. She never leaves the house. She cooks, she cleans, she gives you beer. Cool, I'm going over to her house right now. So he goes over to Sheila's house, and Sheila, Joan Cusack, my precious baby angel.
I love her so much.
I love Joan Cusack with my whole heart. And she brings him in, and she tells him to take off his shoes. And she's like, you kind of smell really bad, and I don't like it. And he goes on a rant about how there's never any warm water in the house. And so she's like, do you want me to draw you a bath? I can give you a bath. I can give you some of my husband's old clothes. I'll take care of you. You want some food? And that's when
I love her.
And so we find out after he has had a bath in her house, and he stands up. That's what we learned, that Sheila is a freak.
We love Sheila.
To fuck. Because he drops his towel, and she's like, ooh. And they go to the bedroom, and then she handcuffs him to the headboard and pulls out her box of sex toys, including an enormous dick. Like...
The one that has like the handle, that one?
Yeah, it's huge. Even Mickey would shudder at this thing. So Sheila's a freak.
We love Sheila. Sheila is sex positive. Sheila is a top. Sheila's a top.
And like Sheila is a top. She's got big top energy, and I love that for her. And like, I love you a lot,
I love
Sheila.
how she dominates all the men.
But also like, consent, baby, consent. Because he at first is like, I don't know about this. I don't know. And she's like, he's like, what about a safe word? She's like, okay, a safe word. He's like, okay, I say stop, and that's a safe word. She's like, okay. They're like, consent, baby, consent. So Frank gets pegged, and we hear him yelling about it as we like zoom away from the house, and like, you know what? Good for Sheila. I'm so happy for her. And so then after he gets pegged, he comes downstairs and he's all like walking bow-legged, and Sheila has made him. He like looks upset, but then Sheila has made him dinner, and he's like, oh. He walks over and she sits like a pillow down for him and pours him a drink and everything.
And gives him like Advil and shit like that.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, I'm staying here forever. We cut back to the Gallagher house, and now they're all sitting around watching some other TV show while Fiona picks lice out of Carl's hair. And her phone rings, and it's Steve, and he's got a minivan full of roses to apologize to her, and he wants to give her the minivan. And she goes out back inside and comes out and gives him cash to repay for the washer that he gave her. Because she's like, I don't need your fucking charity. I don't need anything from you. I don't need you to fix my problems. I don't need your fucking minivan. I'll pay you back for the washer whenever, you asshole. And like, I get where she's coming from, but like,
But bitch never says thank you,
he's
even
also
if she does get things.
he's just trying to be nice. Like, he's not trying to give
Yeah.
you charity. He's trying to like woo you and give you what you need. Like,
And like I know he even like defends himself. He was like, "We're together. Like we're supposed to give each other things in return.
Yeah.
Like I don't get why you don't want things."
he hit one of your kids, and so I took care of him. And you needed a washer, so I got you one. And you need to haul them around. Here's a minivan. I steal cars for a living. What? I don't understand. I
I
get
don't
why
know,
she's like
man.
putting her foot down and being like a strong, independent woman. And I'm very proud of her, and I love Fiona, and Fiona's amazing. But like, damn, girl. And then one last cut to Frank living at Sheila's, and Karen is just sitting at breakfast, like, so my boyfriend's dad just like lives with us now, I guess. Like, and she is not into it. And then credits roll, and then we get our very first credit scene of Frank in panties, like fuzzy pink panties and fuzzy pink handcuffs. And we go from like a news report saying that these like fuzzy pink handcuffs have like a they're not good and that they lock and you can't get them open, and then firefighters walk in to cut
They cut him
the
out.
cuffs off of Frank and laugh at him, and it's great.
It's so good.
Wow, that was a long episode.
That episode, like, too much happens in this episode. Like, I get it, it's only the second episode, but like, bro, you already gave us so much information with the first episode. You're gonna give us like a 480 basically
Yeah.
with
It is one of my least favorite episodes of season 1, and it's because it's Frank based. Yeah, it's because it's Frank based, and there isn't enough Ian and Lip in this episode.
yeah, like Ian and Lip, honestly, like those my boys,
Yeah,
they
and
run so much of the show.
they're like the only children in the Gallagher clan that get like legitimate storylines for the first like 2 seasons.
Yeah, because we get like little baby Carl and Debbie things, but like it's not anything you constantly are they go back to. It's kind of like it happened once in this episode in like the 30 minutes in, and then we're not going to talk about it for like the next year.
And like that was probably because they were trying to film as little as possible with the kids that were like under 12, and like
Because like whatever, like they can only film like a certain couple hours a day. Like I don't know Hollywood
yeah,
child actor
because
rules.
even though Cam was a minor, like he's 15, so like the rules are different for like 10 to 12 to like whatever. I'm sure they just didn't want to film that much with the kids. So like Liam's always like asleep or in another room or something for like a lot of season 1 too.
Yeah, he's like either just always on someone's hip, just being dragged around in a scene, and like that's it, or like someone's pushing him around.
Yeah,
but that's it. Like you don't really learn anything about Liam.
So what did we think about this episode?
I think it had its moments, and I think it kind of painted the picture of how they all genuinely feel about Frank and stuff like that. But it also painted a bad picture on how everyone is treated by Frank.
Yeah.
Like it kind of was like it played itself. Like it made you think that all these people actually cared, and then watch us pan to the next episode and no one could give two shits about where Frank is or how Frank is doing or why he's gone or something like that. It just kind of rubbed me the wrong way that it was so everyone was like Frank, Frank, and then literally if you watch any other time in this series, everyone's like fuck you, Frank.
Yeah. I almost wish this was like the 3rd episode, and that between the pilot and this, there was like some other information about everybody else in the family, and then that the 2nd episode would have ended with Steve driving away, and like that the 3rd episode
that could have been like the credit scene
with Frank not being, so that we could just start with Frank isn't here, so that we didn't have like I don't know. It felt long.
Yeah, it just felt like they tried to do too many things. Like they already did like the whole Canada storyline, and then they added like 2 more new storylines right after that. Yeah. Like they could have easily like made it more so like fuck you, Frank, why like this is your fault, but like also it's actually fucking Steve's fault.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just kind of like throws me off because everyone's like way they feel about each other just seems very off as of now. And I know it's pretty early in the season, but I'm just like, it paints such a weird picture for just watching like the 3rd episode.
Yeah. And like I said, it's the 1st season. They were figuring shit out.
Yeah.
They were figuring out what they wanted to do. Whatever. Did you have a favorite moment in this episode at all?
I think my favorite moment probably would just be like everyone just like checking up on each other, like
Yeah.
just how like V like tended to Ian, and like everyone was just like chilling like back and forth with each other. But like there was not one specific moment that like maybe Lip like following Frank and kind of like belittling him, being like "fuck you, Frank, you don't deserve to stay anywhere."
That's what I was gonna
Like
say too, because I just love when Jeremy Allen White gets to work. Like,
I love him.
I love getting to see him work in the comedy stuff or drama. Like, I love getting to see him work. It's so fun, and I love the V and Ian friendship is so sweet.
Because like that they're really close in real life too, and I like that makes me really happy because
Yeah,
I can tell like Chanel like kind of took all the little babies under her wing,
yeah.
and like her and Emma are like super close, and I think that's adorable.
She's been rewatching random early episodes of the series, and like while
Hmm.
she's watching it, she's like on Instagram Live commenting on it, and she's like, "Oh my god, they were children!" Like,
Because like
oh
they're all in their 20s now,
yeah.
like all of them are, which is like oh my
Cam
god,
Cam
baby.
is like Cam is like 26, 27.
Not Emmy, Emma and Ethan are both about to be 21
Yeah,
because I think Ethan's birthday is in like September, and then like Emmy's is like a month before his, I think,
yeah,
because she's older than him.
yeah. And
And then
Debbie
I don't know how old
is Debbie
Jeremy
older
is.
than Carl? Or are they the same age?
Yeah,
Debbie's
and
older.
Shameless. Yeah, Debbie's older than Carl, and Emma's actually older than Ethan.
Yeah. And so I
How
always
old is
forget
Jeremy Allen White? I'm actually
he's
interested.
I don't know, he's in his late 20s, I think. Please hold everybody. We're both
Jeremy Allen White.
Googling.
Sorry, Google. Jeremy is 29. Okay, so he's about to be 30.
Yeah.
And then Emmy is like what, 32, 33?
Yeah, I think
She's
so.
33.
Yeah. Okay, so this episode is over, and that's fine. But you know what I'm looking forward to? Do you know what the next episode is, sir? Do you know who we get to meet in the third episode of season 1?
Ian Gallagher!
We get to
You
meet.
met with the wrong.
We get to meet next episode, guys. This is like a next week on, or whenever we post this. We get to meet patron saint Mikhailo Alexander Milkovich. We get to meet Maggie Mogovich in the next episode, and I am so excited.
We meet Mandy for the first time next episode as well, don't
Mandy, the Jane Levy Mandy. So yeah, so this is us winding down after the episode, just talking about other things because we are in quarantine.
That's what happens.
And what else do we have to do than watch television and talk about it?
Yeah.
So we're gonna wrap it up now, everybody. Thank you for joining our shit show of a rant session. I know that our audio isn't the best quality. I know that this is a ranting, raving moment, but like, if you've been into Shameless for as long as we have, it's all you would ever do when you talked about the show is just yell.
Yeah, it just is like every other conversation I've had about Shameless, but we're letting the public hear it.
People try to avoid talking to me about it because they know that I'll launch into like a 40-minute just diatribe about the show.
I haven't been able to talk to like anyone about Shameless just because with quarantine.
Yeah. I saw on your Instagram, I was like, oh, he's rewatching all of it. That's so good. I'm genuinely scared for when we get to the seasons I haven't watched yet, but
it's really interesting watching the new seasons because as I said, I haven't seen season 8, season 9, or season 10. So I started watching Shameless about 3 weeks ago, and I'm on season 8. So I've watched that much Shameless in that little amount of time. So like I'm like overwhelmed with how much information I'm getting from watching it again. And like, because it was one thing watching things I already knew what happened and like interesting and stuff like that. And now I'm actually watching these things for the first time, and I'm like, I don't know how to feel.
I am so excited for you to see season 10. So just so everybody knows, if you are watching through Shameless for the first time, congratulations, welcome. Good to see you. I'm sorry for all the spoilery things that we've said, but whatever. It's been out for a decade. That's past the point of us having to care about spoiling you for things. It's been a decade.
Yeah.
But I am so excited for anybody watching this for the first time. And I'm going to feel the same way you do when we get to seasons 6 through 9 that I haven't watched a single second of outside of Mickey-related content, because it'll be like watching a new show. And I'm glad that
Amanda has been there for my entire like Amanda has been there since like the day I started watching Shameless, basically. Because like I started watching it, and then she saw me watching it on Instagram, and like they immediately slid in my DMs. It was like, listen.
I remember it so clearly. I'm so happy that you started watching it. I'm so happy that we are doing this podcast together.
I know.
You're
like,
my co-host.
What is that? Like, what is like 5 years ago is when I think I started it for the first time. Like, that's crazy.
It's insane. I'm so happy. I'm so happy that we finally started this, and I'm
Me
just gonna
too.
start slapping these together and posting them because what else are we gonna do? So Evan, where can everybody follow you on the social medias? On your TikTok, perhaps. And stop letting his amazing TikToks flop, everybody, please.
I was so mad my berry one did so bad.
He did such a good berry one, and it flopped, and everybody needs to pay attention to Evan's TikTok, especially the Scott Pilgrim duets he is doing with my sister currently.
I know, I need to film more Wallace stuff. So my username, I'm fine if everyone, but my username is I wanna die 4000. You can find me on TikTok as well as Instagram. If I'm not posting on one, I'm posting on the other, and you can find me there. And then I have like a Twitter if you want to follow me. It's called Internet Life Yo. Haven't changed my username in 7 years, so don't make fun of me.
I am gonna give you all of the Instagram and Twitter handles and stuff for the show. luckwehadpod at Instagram, on Twitter. luckwehadpod at gmail.com if you want to email us with your information about the show. But leave comments and likes and stuff on our posts. If you want to follow me personally on social media, my Instagram is somelikeithot318. We're not going to talk about it. It's a Marilyn Monroe thing. Don't call me some like it thought. I can't take it. All my friends would do. And I'm at abnormal Amanda on Twitter. But yeah, Luck We Had Pod on Twitter, on Instagram, on Gmail if you want to email us. And Luck We Had Pod on SoundCloud. And join us whenever we post the next episode of Season 1, Episode 3, which will be called Aunt Ginger. And it will be the very first appearance of Mickey Milkovich. And I'm real excited.
I'm so excited. That's actually a pretty good episode. I really like that episode.
So stay tuned for that, everybody. But goodbye for now, everybody. And we'll see you next time. Hey, bye!
Bye, guys. Thank you.